In 2014, I woke up in the middle of the night, turning around, and my ear brushed against my pillow. The sound was similar to someone scratching their nails on a chalkboard. That night marked the beginning of a steady decline in my hearing on the left side. About 6 months later, an MRI scan was made. And when I walked into the doctor's office, I saw this. There was a tumor in my brain sitting on the hearing nerve, and the tumor was causing my hearing loss. I was born in a little town called Wijk bij Duurstede, and don't worry if you can pronounce it. I don't think anyone can, except the locals. I remember growing up, always making things, building things, and solving problems. It was like I was born to do that. So let me illustrate that with a couple of stories. When I was 10 years old, I was clipping my nails on the kitchen table. My mother told me to go outside in the balcony because she didn't like the nails flying around. I respectfully refused, but I came up with another nail clipper that prevented the nails from jumping around at all. And ultimately, I ended up finding a patent for it. You can see how it works if you take a photo. In high school, when I was 16, I got into building websites. And I really liked it, and I started actually a company at the age of 16. And I loved building the websites, but I really didn't like updating the news pages for my clients. So the news pages were delivered to me by floppy disk in the mail at the time. So I learned how to code, and I built a system so my clients could do it themselves. This was about 5 years before WordPress, to give you some context. Then in 2012, I ended up starting another company. This time it was about changing the way we communicate over mobile phones. We wanted to make communication more personal and intimate. And something we called it personal media. We ended up raising a couple of rounds of funding, and this is how I ended up in San Francisco. We moved to San Francisco at the time that I was losing my hearing. One day, in the beginning of 2015, another MRI scan was made, and I got a phone call from the doctor. I think it was about 6 a.m. in the morning. And the doctor told me that my tumor had grown, but they also said that I had another tumor on my other hearing nerve and one in my spine. The cause of the tumors, they said, was a genetic mutation in a gene called NF2. And the mutation was causing tumors to grow in my central nervous system. So most typically, the mutation leads to complete hearing loss. But it can also cause other problems, such as eyesight problems, if people lose their eyesight or their mobility. So the tumors, they grow literally on the nerves themselves, so they affect directly the function of them. I can tell you that was really scary. Just the idea of someone switching off all the lights slowly and kind of ending up in isolation. But just like with the nail clipper, I wasn't going to sit this one out and have to kind of do something about this. I was really lucky because I just moved to San Francisco, which is the heart of Silicon Valley, and a friend of mine was working on tools to analyze the genome. And this is actually what you see here is a sequencing machine that he has at home. So we had the idea, let's try to sequence my genome and find a potential drug that is on the market for something else that could be reapplied to me. So this was a very explorative project for me, and I didn't kind of have too many hopes that something got out of it. I tried to lower my expectations. But of course, like, I was all in. So we needed this sample of the tumor, and I happened to have a brain surgery coming up to remove it. And so we got the tumor sample, and we managed to get it sequenced. So what happens is you take the biological sample of the tumor tissue, and you convert it into computer code, like A, C's, T's, and G's. In that code, we ended up finding another mutation that could affect the growth rate of the tumors. Although this was just a theory, that mutation was actually druggable with a drug that was designed for breast cancer. And I just started taking the drug about 10 days ago. So I swallow pills now because I've sequenced my tumor. The thing is, we don't, of course, know for sure if it's going to work, but I'm very happy that I can try this. It's like a personal clinical trial. Mid last year, 2017, I decided to team up with a group called SVAI. SVAI is a group of scientists and hackers and computer engineers, and we decided to organize an event called a hackathon around the data that we had for me. So maybe other people would find something new. In the end, we had 300 people showing up at the event, working on my data, and they together made over 20 presentations. This today inspires me to think of this problem as, if we can get enough people to work on it, we might actually cause a solution. So talk for a minute about making people care. The thing is, with rare diseases, everybody kind of cares about it. I didn't meet anyone that didn't care about it. So just saying, though, like, let's fix this, I don't think it works. Like, you have to convert the problem into something actionable. So I saw it as my personal mission to make it exciting for people to work on rare disease. So over the last years, I've learned a lot about the healthcare industry. I didn't know anything about it. I learned about genomics, about the pharmaceutical industry, about healthcare data. And I decided to build a website for patients to sign up and see if other people would, for example, get sequenced so we could build a bigger data set. That ultimately led to the start of a new company again. This one is called RDMD. And what we try to do is accelerate research and make fertile ground for rare disease drug development. So RDMD is centered around patients, specialists, foundations, and pharma. Like, especially in rare disease, where the resources are little, you need to find really effective ways to work together. And ultimately, if the disease area is developed enough, we might excite the industry to actually develop drugs for it and bring them to the market. The long-term goal that we have in mind is to invest proactively in different disease areas. So even before there is anyone active or there is a pharmaceutical industry that has a program for it, even before, we can already invest in the disease. So currently, we have a growing team, and this is to me, what's really exciting. Those people are usually not affected by a rare disease, but they chose to focus their career on fixing these kind of problems. So I want everybody to raise their hand if they have, hold on, if they have a rare disease or know somebody that has a rare disease. Does anyone have a rare disease or know people with a rare disease? I see a lot of hands. This is a very common misconception that rare disease is uncommon, because rare disease is actually quite common. Worldwide, statistics, worldwide is 1 in 20 people that have a rare disease. And if you look at only Europe and the US, it's 1 in 10. Half of the people with a rare disease are kids. And there's a staggering 7,000 rare diseases. So every dot that you see here represents one. And this number is actually growing because we become better at defining them also with genomics technologies, only 5% of the rare diseases have a treatment that is FDA approved and on the market. So there is a lot to do, and we're talking about a really big problem. The good news is that a lot of rare diseases have low-hanging fruits. It's not like a complex disease such as cancer, which is really big. A lot of resources are devoted to it. A lot of rare diseases, they're a lot simpler than cancer and didn't have enough resources yet to work on them. Also, 80% of the rare diseases has a genetic origin. So another thing that's happening, we have new technologies that can help rare disease as well, such as gene therapies, where you can cut your DNA, replace the broken gene or replace the entire gene, and possibly even cure them. Another one are immunotherapies, where you basically take out the immune cells from the body, re-engineer it, put it back, and the immune cells now recognize, like cancer cells, for example, and literally start eating them. Another technology is high-throughput compound screening. This is a fancy word for checking tens of thousands of drugs at the same time. And this is very new. This is pretty recent as well, with the computer vision, for example, looking at all those different drugs. There are a couple of really great examples. This is a disease called NGLI1, and their community has managed to have more scientists work on the disease than there are patients. There are about 50 patients identified right now, and there are over 100 scientists working on it. Another one is cystic fibrosis, which the community has built high-quality resources, which ultimately led to 3 drugs on the market and multiple programs still potentially coming to the market later. So back to creating fertile ground for rare disease. I personally think the key doesn't lie in the pharmaceutical industry. They will take it on once there is a good chance that they can bring it to the market. And we shouldn't forget that pharma is really expensive. Like, even if you have the science, it still costs in the hundreds of millions of dollars to bring the treatment to the market. It's also very risky, so most of them actually don't work out. Even in orphan diseases, only 13% of the initiatives ultimately reach the market. So for the industry, it's more like a calculation. How much do you invest? What's the risk? And what is the potential outcome? So I thought it was really important to try to de-risk the disease area. That's how you can make it more interesting for the industry to pick it up. And there are 2 ways to do that. One is you do more science, which is usually sponsored. This can lead to new theories about how you go after the disease. But the other thing is bringing community and data together. And with data, I mean high quality data, like medical records, very good survey data, genomics data. And with that, you can actually create a better understanding of the disease, making it more likely that ultimately it will get solved. As a patient, I care only about 2 things, which is getting the best care today and getting a better treatment tomorrow. So I don't really mind, as a patient, if that is a fancy gene therapy or a traditional drug. I mean, even if it would be eating more bananas, I would still be okay with that. Like, it's whatever works. And that is why I think it's so important to put patients in the center of the healthcare equation. They are the ones with the really one right incentive. So building quality resources, patients in the center with the data, and foundations, doctors, and pharma around it. That is my ideal picture. And I think modern technology, as I'm very used to build, can really play a significant role there. So if enough patients, doctors, researchers, and foundations work together efficiently, the disease may actually get solved. it's it's pretty scary to have a rare disease, and the idea of losing your functions over time, it moves me into more living in the real moment, living in the now. So instead of being like scared and anticipating the future, I want to live today. And this is also something that I learned, like if you want something, do it today, don't wait. For example, the idea that I could lose my hearing one day made me realize I always wanted to sing. And I started singing lessons to celebrate the acoustic ear. Like, this is something I never thought I would appreciate so much. Like, after losing one ear, having the other one, how great of an instrument it is. And also we use it now to share ideas in a very high bandwidth fashion. So one day we might get scooped up by that big wave that we have no control over. So let's take control over what's right in our reach, right in front of us. Like a sailor taking control over his rudder. The rest we can't really do anything about. So I have no control over being dealt these cards and having this disease. But I decided to use what I have, like the networks that I have, the experience in the past, the place where I am, to do something about it. The thing that motivates me most is meeting other patients. Like, I met so many patients that are in a far worse physical condition than I am, and they are still standing up strong. And that helps me to stand up strong too and show up every day the way I do. So I really want to devote this talk to all of them, and all of them that I didn't meet yet. This tile, this is a tile. I got it from my mom a few days before the surgery, and it reminded her of me that these problems cause a lot of solutions. This is the attitude we need to make a difference. And facing a difficult problem in life actually is life's way to tell you to try to reassess what you put your attention to. So this is the question I want to leave you with. What do you put your attention to? And I know that we can cause a lot of solutions. Thank you.